Combustion engine on my BMW blew up. I, inspired by Nikola Tesla, wanted to show that I can build a race car that's exciting and fun. I wanted to build my own car.
A brand worth millions per car, a name built over a century, a symbol of power owned by kings, billionaires, and oil sheikhs. Now imagine it does not stay in the hands of the elite forever. Because somewhere in Eastern Europe, a teenager in a small garage starts building electric cars with almost nothing.
So it was like a transition from high school to, my first car, to, trying to do something in my garage and then trying to figure it out along the way.
No money, no connections, no backing, just obsession, raw skill, and a refusal to quit when the world is laughing at him. And years later, that same kid ends up controlling Bugatti. Majority owner, final word, final vision. This is the story of Mate Rimac and how he went from a garage nobody noticed to shaking the foundations of the entire hypercar world. The garage that started it all. The year is 2006. The country is Croatia, a place most people on Earth could not point to on a map without help. A small Eastern European nation, still recovering from a war in the 1990s. Not exactly the place anyone would expect a global automotive revolution to begin. A 17-year-old kid named Mate Rimac just did something that should not have been possible for someone his age and his situation. He took an old broken-down 1984 BMW E30, a car worth almost nothing at that point, and he ripped its entire engine out. Then he started building an electric motor from scratch, by hand, in a garage, with YouTube videos, library books, and his own obsessive research as his only teachers. His friends thought he was crazy. His parents thought it was a phase he would outgrow. His teachers shook their heads and told him to focus on his studies. In Croatia, in 2006, electric cars were treated like a joke, a laughable hobby for tree huggers in California. Not real engineering, not real performance, not something a serious young man should waste his life on. Mate did not care what anybody thought. He kept building. When the conversion was finally finished, he entered that homemade electric BMW into a local drag race. And what happened next started his entire legend. He did not just win. He absolutely destroyed every single car on the track, including high-performance petrol cars worth 10 times the price of his BMW, cars built by professional shops, cars driven by experienced racers with real budgets. A teenager, a converted BMW, a garage build, annihilating professionals in front of stunned crowds. The video of that drag race spread across early YouTube and Croatian forums. Then it spread further. People around the world could not believe what they were watching. The internet kept asking the same question over and over. How does some random kid from Croatia build something that fast, with almost no money and no proper workshop? But here is where the story gets even more interesting. Mate applied to several universities and got rejected by most of them. The same kid who could build an electric drag car better than professional companies was being told he was not good enough for engineering school. The system did not recognize his talent. The official paperwork did not match what he was actually capable of doing with his own hands. So in 2009, at 19 years old, while the entire world was crashing into the worst financial crisis in modern history, Mate Rimac did something that everyone around him would have called completely insane. He started his own company. No investors, no funding, no connections.
Over the past 8 years, the goal has shifted. It started with a dream to make my own car, and now we consider ourselves as a technology company.
No safety net of any kind. Just him, a tiny rented industrial space, and an obsession with electric motors that absolutely nobody else in the automotive world believed in yet. He called the company Rimac Automobili.
I'm Mate Rimac, founder and CEO of Rimac Automobili.
And from a small workshop in a country nobody respected in the car world, he quietly started building what would become the fastest electric machine on planet Earth. Geneva, 2011, the moment everything started. Fast forward to March 2011. Mate Rimac is 23 years old. He walks into the Geneva Motor Show, the most prestigious automotive event on the planet.
The founder and CEO of Rimac, Mr. Mate Rimac.
Hello everybody, thanks for being here. I love the Geneva Motor Show, it's my favorite show. Just what ruins it for me every year.
With something nobody in the building expected to see from a small Croatian startup. A complete, fully functional hypercar, built almost entirely by him and a tiny team. From a country with absolutely zero hypercar manufacturing history, he called it the Rimac Concept 1. 1,088 horsepower, fully electric, 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 2.5 seconds. A top speed of 305 kilometers per hour. 4 individual motors, 1 for each wheel, with torque vectoring technology that nobody else had figured out at that scale. In 2011, when Tesla was still considered a Silicon Valley experiment that might fail at any moment, this kid from Croatia had quietly built something faster than most established production supercars on the road. The reaction at Geneva was first complete silence, then quiet chaos. Bugatti engineers were spotted walking around the car, bending down, examining the hardware, looking underneath it, taking detailed photos, when they thought nobody was watching. Porsche executives were noting every component. Ferrari's team stood at a respectful distance and watched everything carefully. The German engineering establishment was looking at this small Croatian booth and quietly losing their minds in real time, because every single one of them understood exactly what had just happened. This 23-year-old had quietly cracked the code on something their billion-dollar research departments had not solved yet. He made electric power feel like a real hypercar. Visceral, terrifying, alive, brutal. Not a clean Silicon Valley toy. Something with actual soul behind the silence. But here is the part of the story that nobody talks about today. Even after that moment of global glory at Geneva, nobody was writing him checks. The established automotive world was still in deep denial about electric performance. Electric cars were supposed to be slow and boring and made for commuters. Not this. Not 1,000 horsepower. Not these acceleration numbers. Not this kind of engineering.
That's about 40% the speed of sound at sea level. That is 7 times faster than the fastest racehorse.
Coming out of a Croatian garage. Mate flew back to Croatia with no major new investors and almost no money left in the company account. He had a small handful of employees, a building he could barely afford the rent on, and a car that the entire automotive world had just seen, but absolutely nobody was buying. Most people would have quit right there. Most people would have taken a comfortable engineering job at one of the big German automakers and called Geneva a great chapter of their life. They would have walked away with their head held high. Most people, Mate Rimac doubled down. He kept building. He kept hiring smart engineers. He kept refining the technology. He was about to discover something that would change everything. The same people who had ignored him publicly at Geneva were quietly watching every single thing he did next. From supplier to threat. The year is 2018. 7 brutal years after that Geneva debut. Rimac Automobili is still alive, but only just barely. The company has survived through these long years by doing something most people never noticed at the time. They were quietly selling their hardcore technology to other major manufacturers behind the scenes. Battery systems, electric drivetrains, power electronics, software platforms, vehicle control units. Aston Martin came to Rimac for help with their electric concepts. Pininfarina partnered with them on the Battista hypercar. Koenigsegg used Rimac technology in some of their record-breaking projects.
So we have even better visibility out of the car, and we stretch the monocoque 50 millimeters, so it's the roomiest Koenigsegg we ever made.
Inside the secret development rooms of the world's biggest automakers, Rimac had quietly become the technology supplier nobody wanted to talk about publicly, but absolutely everybody needed privately to keep up with the future. Mate had quietly become the brain behind dozens of hypercars, wearing other people's badges. And then came the phone call that changed the entire trajectory of his life. The caller was Porsche AG, one of the most powerful and respected automotive companies in the world. The Germans had been watching Mate for years, quietly, carefully, studying every move he made, analyzing his patents, tracking his technology, and now they wanted in. Porsche initially invested 10% in Rimac in 2018. Then they came back the next year and increased it to 15.5%. Then they kept increasing the position. Hyundai Motor Group followed with a massive €80 million investment. Other strategic partners came on board. Suddenly, the kid who had been rejected by universities and ignored by investors in 2009 was sitting across the negotiating table from the most powerful executives in global automotive. But this is where the story takes the turn that absolutely nobody on Earth predicted. Because Bugatti was watching all of this too. Bugatti, the brand that sells cars for $3, $4, sometimes $5 million each. The brand that builds only a few dozen finished cars per year. The brand whose private customer list includes kings, sultans, and the wealthiest collectors who have ever existed in human history. Bugatti looked at Mate Rimac and saw something genuinely terrifying. This guy understood the future of high-performance machines better than they did. He had electric technology they could not match. He had production, scale, and speed they envied. He had a small team that moved faster than their entire enormous engineering division. And he was getting better every single year, while they were slowing down. The Volkswagen Group, which owned Bugatti at the time, had a serious choice to make. Fight him, compete with him, try to crush him with money and lawyers and time, or join him. In a corporate decision that shocked the entire industry, they chose to join him. And the deal they cut would rewrite hypercar history forever. The moment a three-year-old took Bugatti. July 5th, 2021. The automotive press woke up to a headline nobody was prepared for. Volkswagen Group officially announced they were transferring the entire Bugatti brand into a brand new joint venture. The new company would be called Bugatti Rimac, headquartered in Zagreb, Croatia, not in Molsheim, France, where Bugatti had operated for over 100 years. And the majority shareholder, controlling 55%, was Mate Rimac. The remaining 45% went to Porsche AG. Hyundai Motor Group, which had invested €80 million into Rimac in 2019, openly approved the deal. A 33-year-old kid from Croatia, the same kid who had been rejected by universities. The same kid who built electric motors in a rented industrial space when the rest of the world was laughing at him. That same exact person now controlled Bugatti. Let that sink in for a long second. The brand founded in 1909 by Ettore Bugatti himself. The brand that survived 2 world wars. The brand that created the legendary Type 35, which won over 1,000 races in the late 1920s. The brand that built the modern Veyron, the car that broke the 400-km/h barrier in 2005. The brand that delivered the Chiron Super Sport 300+, and the first production car ever to exceed 300 miles per hour at the Era Lesienne test track in 2019. That brand now had a majority owner who was 33 years old, who had started with nothing. The reaction was brutal. Top Gear ran the story under the line, "The Bugatti Reset." Automotive News questioned whether Volkswagen had quietly given up on the brand. Old-school Bugatti collectors were furious, claiming the legendary French marque had been handed over to a Croatian outsider with no respect for its century of heritage. Mate did not care about the noise, because he understood something the critics did not. Bugatti was never just a car company. It was a platform, a laboratory for what is mechanically possible when you remove all financial limits. And he was about to push it further than anyone in its history had dreamed of. His first major project, the Bugatti Tourbillon, revealed in June 2024 at Molsheim, France. A brand new, naturally aspirated V16 engine co-developed with Cosworth, the legendary British engineering firm that built Formula One engines for Lotus, McLaren, and Williams. Combined with 3 electric motors, the Tourbillon produces 1,800 horsepower, starting price €3.8 million. All 250 units sold out before the first production car was even completed. The Croatian kid had just sold out one of the most expensive cars on the planet instantly. But the story was about to take its biggest twist yet. Porsche just walked away from Bugatti. April 24, 2026, just 3 weeks ago at the time of this video. The automotive press woke up to another headline that shook the entire global industry to its core. Porsche officially announced they were selling their entire remaining 45% stake in Bugatti Rimac, not increasing, not holding steady. Selling, walking away from Bugatti completely after just 5 years of partnership. This was the moment nobody in Stuttgart actually wanted to talk about publicly. Because behind that headline was a story of pure German automotive pain. Porsche's operating profit had collapsed by an absolutely brutal 92.7% in 2025, falling from €5.64 billion down to just €410 million in a single year. That is not a slowdown. That is a financial earthquake. United States tariffs were hammering their margins on every imported vehicle. Their massive long-term China strategy had completely backfired as Chinese buyers shifted aggressively toward homegrown electric brands like BYD, Xiaomi, and NIO. Their enormous bet on global electric vehicles, the Taycan, the electric Macan, the next generation 718, was costing them billions of euros without delivering anything close to the returns they had promised investors and shareholders for years. Even worse, Porsche stock had crashed in early trading. Investors had lost faith. The CEO, Michael Leiters, was openly committing to streamlining the company, cutting hierarchies, slashing bureaucracy, and selling off everything that was not absolute core business. And so they let Bugatti go. The 45% Porsche stake was bought by a consortium led by Hof Capital, a New York-based investment firm co-founded by a member of Egypt's legendary billionaire Sawiris family. The largest single investor in the consortium is Blue 5 Capital, an Abu Dhabi-based private equity firm led by Hazem Ben Gassem, a former senior executive at the global investment giant Investcorp. Add in additional institutional money from across the United States and Europe, and you have a brand new ownership structure, quietly funded by some of the wealthiest capital pools on Earth. Reports suggested the deal valued the joint venture at slightly over €1 billion. Financial terms were never officially disclosed. The deal was signed on April 24, 2026. Full completion is expected before the end of the year, pending standard regulatory approvals. Here is what that actually means. Mate Rimac now controls Bugatti, with new partners who are pure financial investors, not competing automakers, not corporate giants, with their own brands to protect. Not Germans trying to influence direction from Stuttgart, just patient global capital backing his vision and getting out of his way. The last German operational check on his power just walked out the door. The kid from Croatia, the one who was rejected from universities, who could not get investors in 2009, who was ignored at Geneva in 2011, that same kid now sits at the very top of one of the most legendary brands in all of automotive history. With investment partners from New York and Abu Dhabi, who have one job: back him, let him build, get out of his way. Without Volkswagen telling him what to do, without Porsche second-guessing his decisions. With 26 full years of Volkswagen Group ownership of Bugatti officially coming to an end, The brand is now fully in the hands of one man and his vision of the future. And here is the part that should make every other hypercar maker on Earth genuinely nervous tonight. This man has only just gotten started. So what happens next? Mate Rimac is now 38 years old. He has already changed the automotive industry twice. Once, when he made electric hypercars violent. Once, when he took over Bugatti. Now he is entering his third act, and this one might be his biggest. The questions hanging over the entire industry are massive. Will Bugatti stay ultra-exclusive? Or will Mate push it into bigger territory now that pure investors back him? What happens to Koenigsegg, his biggest rival? And the biggest question of all, is Mate Rimac done? Or is this just the beginning of his real takeover? Because every single time the world thought he had reached his ceiling, he found a way to go higher. If this story hit you the way it should, smash that like button right now. And tell me in the comments below, do you think Mate Rimac is the most important figure in the hypercar world today? Or is somebody else still bigger? Drop your verdict below. And subscribe, because the next chapter is coming. And it changes everything.